Welcome back to Brothers in Gaming. This is Jesse here, and
I'm Jared, and we're going to do another Creepypasta Gaming. And I believe he was in the middle of some Soul Calibur VI. Got a good one here. This is supposed to be a pretty good one. Alright, you can proceed, and I will launch into the story for you all. This one is called How to Beat the Sandman. Having difficulty staying awake there? Trying to study for some big exam? Finish some last-minute assignment that you put off all weekend? And now it's 3 in the morning and you are absolutely exhausted. Or perhaps you were in a similar state recently and are looking for help on what to do. Well, friend, I have just the prescription to ease your weary mind. All you need to do is win a game. Setting up the game is relatively simple. All you need is an hourglass, a candle, and a marker. Let me make one thing specifically clear. You need an hourglass, not one of those rinky-dink 30-second pieces of shit you get out of a cereal box or board game. Before playing the game, test your hourglass to make sure it takes an hour or slightly longer.
This is not a minute glass, this is an hourglass.
An hourglass. That it takes an hour or slightly longer to drain out all of the sand from one section to the other. Having it slightly longer will help, but too long or too short, and you'll run into complications during the game.
Oh no! Don't run into complications, get pregnant like.
You must also be completely alone in the room while playing. When you are ready to play, choose any room that can be sealed, simply meaning that all doorways and windows can be closed. Any other form of time-keeping device or alarm must be taken out of the room prior, or the game will not begin. The hourglass will be your only time-tracking tool, hence why having an accurate hourglass is important. Anything with an electronic display should also be removed. This includes TVs, cell phones, computer monitors, anything. Leaving them in the room during the game will put you at a massive disadvantage. You may begin the game at 8 p.m. Make sure the room is sealed, drawing the curtains to block any outside light, and then draw a simplistic hourglass shape on the back of one of your hands. Make sure to remember well which hand it was, since you'll mostly be in the dark for this game. Take the candle and light it, then turn off the lights and sit down on the floor with the 3 previously mentioned objects close together, and flip the hourglass so the sand begins to fall into an empty half. The only source of light should be your candle. Now, yell something along the lines of, "I'm not tired and I refuse to go to sleep."
I'm not tired, Mom!
Close your eyes to the count of 10 and open them again. You won't be entirely sure, but somewhere in the room, you'll think you can see the shadowy outline of a man. You have now begun the game, and your opponent is none other than the Master of Sleep himself, the Sandman. Do not provoke him, and don't speak to him either. You've challenged him, and in a way, insulted him about his profession, so he's not in the best of moods, to say the least. Now comes the game. Your task is to stay awake as long as possible to a maximum of 8 hours, which will take you to 4 a.m. Every hour, you must flip the hourglass to reset it and keep the game going. Each time you flip the hourglass, you may take the marker and draw a tally mark on your arm. The specifics of which arm you mark will be explained later. And don't think you can just flip the hourglass 8 times really quickly, or just draw 8 lines on your arm. The hour needs to pass in order for the magic to work. If you fail to flip the hourglass before the very last grain of sand falls, or should you succumb to sleep, you will lose. During this time, the Sandman will be deploying as many tricks as possible to get you to fall asleep or to give in. See, the bottom half of your hourglass, at any time, represents his power. The more sand in it, the stronger his influence will be. Almost immediately upon starting, you'll begin to feel drowsy. This is merely his presence. If you can't last against this, stop playing immediately. During the first hour, he won't do a lot. He may walk around the room, but he won't touch or speak to you. Even if you try to talk to the being, which is something you should really avoid doing, there will be no response. Also, don't move from your spot to approach him. The closer you get, the more drowsy you will become, and if you are not near your candle, he may put it out so you can go to sleep. Do not distract yourself during this time. You may easily lose track of time and forget to flip the hourglass on time. The Sandman can also skew your perception of how much time has passed, but he cannot affect the hourglass. So keeping your focus on that is your best chance of winning. Side note, if you try to leave the room, you will find that all the doors are locked, and the windows reveal nothing but an unyielding darkness as far as the eye can see. After you pass the first hour, the Sandman may scoff, but will continue to stay in the room. Now he will begin to pull more from his bag of tricks. He's seen that you're going to be a hard one to put down. The sound of music boxes and harps may be heard, at first from a distance, but will slowly grow to a level that would be audible and comforting. Resist the urge to close your eyes and listen. Your body will grow weary as you approach hour 2 or 3, depending on how the Sandman is feeling that day. Around this point, he will begin speaking to you in many voices. The soft voice of a young girl, the wise, cackling laugh of a grandparent, or perhaps even in the ever-loving, recognizable words of your own mother. They will try to congratulate you on surviving so long with the Sandman, for braving sleepless days and nights to win this game. Whispers of lullabies and nursery rhymes will fill your head. But you know better. Say nothing and ignore the voices. No matter how real they may seem, don't listen to them. Do not go to sleep. If you manage to make it to the halfway point and now have 4 marks on your arm, you'll be nothing less than exhausted, and the Sandman will be nothing less than enraged.
Rawr.
He will begin to manipulate your environment even more and start using new tactics to get you to sleep. Instead of trying to lull you to sleep, he will attack you.
You might rub your bill, you don't know.
Hallucinations will occur. You'll see horrifying images of the dead hanging from the ceiling, flashed by a spotlight of unknown origin. The room may start to close in or stretch out and then close in again and stretch back out. A whisper in your ear will turn into shouting in your face from an invisible source. Already weakened and sleep deprived, your remaining energy will be drained in bursts from his terrors. You may have sudden adrenaline rushes, sure, but the Sandman is clever. He'll time them so that you just can't survive to the next hour by simply being anxious. He'll wait until your emotional state has fallen just another level lower, and then bam! 2 rotted feet dangling in front of your face. You can scream all you want. You can beg for him to stop, but this will only use up more of your ability to function. At the 6-hour mark, the hallucinations will shift between horror and comfort, while the Sandman will begin to pick your brain and find what nightmares caused you to become a cold sweat many a night. Others will coax you towards slumber, claiming that you've put up with enough, that you deserve your rest, a warm bed to tuck yourself into, a pillow made from the softest furs and feathers. The harps and music boxes will start to overload your sense of hearing. In your state, you may welcome the chance to sleep, but snap out of it. Have you been watching the hourglass? Make sure his terrors aren't distracting you. This is why you don't talk to the Sandman. For every tiny detail about yourself you give him, he will use against you here. This is also the part where electronic displays can become a massive problem. They will turn on regardless of whether they are powered or not, and should you gaze upon their mystifying image for too long, your eyelids will droop and your body will collapse onto the floor. If you had just turned the screens away, the Sandman might use some muscle and turn it back towards you so you can get a better view. The curtains may open to a brilliant dawn or a clear blue sky, but the only truths in this room are your arm and the hourglass. Unless you have 8 marks, the game is not over. Use any ounce of strength you have to flip that hourglass. Now an immense chore from the Sandman's influence. Scrawl a line down your arm with the marker, even if it looks like you're taking a knife and slashing your own arm open. During the final hour, the Sandman will begin to address you directly, asking you questions that appear to be simple, but as you are, you can't even remember what 2 + 2 equals. A question is the hardest thing to get out of your head, so don't let it get in. Cover your ears and just watch the hourglass. Keep those eyes open and don't fall asleep. If the question gets in your head, you'll start to think about it, adding more stress and draining you of what little mental will you have left. It might become hard to breathe, as if something is squeezing your lungs, or the air is dense and hard to take. The Sandman will also get physical, grabbing you, throwing you across the room, leaving you to crawl back to the hourglass before time is up. If you catch a glimpse of his face, it may be enough of a nightmare to haunt you and keep your eyes from shutting. There will be no distinguishable facial features, save 2 bloody eyes, lids torn from the socket, endlessly staring. If you can't take it anymore at this point, before the 8th hour is complete, take the hourglass and break it with all your might. Both sections must be broken for the game to end. For your sake, I hope it was made of glass. Anyone who made it to the 7th hour mark has never had the strength to successfully break it, and either carried on or surrendered to their dreams. You will not receive a reward for ending the game this way, save the mercy of avoiding the Sandman's wrath. If you do make it to the end of the 8th hour without falling asleep, you will not need to flip the hourglass again. Simply make the 8th mark on your arm and close your eyes. Though you ended the game, you cannot sleep just yet. There's one final task remaining. All you must do is wait for the Sandman to collect the hourglass and say, "You're all grown up now. Sleep when you wish." Open your eyes and find that the hourglass is gone and the candle put out. Now you may collapse in slumber, a 12-hour slumber to be precise. The game puts a heavy strain on your mind and body, so recovery is necessary. But it's the last sleep you'll ever need, or at least to that length, because once you've fully recovered, you will be able to stay awake for an extra hour for each tally marked on your marked arm. Depending on your normal sleep schedule, this may mean you only need a small nap, maybe an hour or 2 at most, but for some, you'll never have to lie down again. Sure, you will have the ability to do so if you want, but you can even still dream. But there will never be any weariness following you. Just think of how productive you can be. But it's not all sugar plums and gumdrops. If you mark any tallies on the arm that was not marked by the hourglass, you will instead require more sleep. 1 hour for each tally on the blank arm to be precise. You will require more rest to be able to even function throughout your day. Now these marks can cancel with the ones on your marked arm. But if that's not the case, you may have just gone through all that suffering only to come out worse than before. And what with your delirious state throughout the game, it's unlikely for the average individual to come out with all their tallies on the marked arm. There are also circumstances of losing. If you fail to flip the hourglass, then the Sandman will gain full power, and with a snap of his fingers, you will collapse to the ground. Regardless of how you fall asleep, be it by failure of the hourglass or succumbing to your own tiredness, you will also sleep for 12 hours to recover, but it will be the worst sleep you will ever have. And the Sandman will make damn sure that's the case. The worst nightmares will flood your mind, leaving you unable to escape or wake up in relief-filled cold sweat. All you can do is endure the torture of a dream that feels like years in length. And when you finally come to conscious the next morning, there you will be, lying on the floor of the room, the marks still on your arm, the blood flowing from where your eyelids once rested. You said you refused to close your eyes and go to sleep. The Sandman simply granted your wish. And that's it. That was a fucking crazy one. Very creepy. That was written by Red Nova Tyrant. Red Nova Tyrant, if you're out there. That was pretty cool. That was awesome, yo.
Definitely cool. Very cool.
Man.
Cool.
What's our time like? Where's the timer? Okay, we got about 15 minutes. Oh, let's see what I can pull out of my bag of tricks. There are a lot of interesting sounding ones in here. Oh man. Sometimes it's hard to pick because like they all sound so cool. I wish I could write a cool scary story. What about this one? Oh, let's see. I'm looking for another story. Nah. Not that one. If you're still tuned in, hi, how are you?
How's it going?
What it do, Boogaloo? Christ. This one sounds interesting. This is a fairly long one. Oh boy.
Super long, dude. Super duper long.
Oh.
Oh no. No.
Okay. This one might be good. Alright, we'll go for it. Hopefully I got time. Don't mind me. That was not a fart, that was the leather couch. This one is called A Game of Tag. In 2017, a certain video appeared on YouTube. The phone recording presented a busy intersection in a rather large city, probably in the United States. The circumstances indicated the situation took place during rush hours on March or April as people were wearing light coats and some snow was still visible along the blooming trees and grass. The recording starts with screaming. You can hear distant cries. Few people are seen running, and even from a distance, it is clearly a panic rush, with lots of scuffling and pushing aside. There is a sense of confusion and uncertainty in the air. Among the obscured noises, one clear, "What's going on?" can be heard. The video is good quality but shaky, as the person holding the phone is trying to get closer to the commotion. Around the 10th second, the chaos starts spreading. Pedestrians are now moving faster, more people are running. If it wasn't for the crowd in the crossing, some would definitely get hit by a car as they are reckless and focus on getting as far as they can. The faint sound of police sirens can be heard at the moment. The phone user is now more or less 40 feet away from the center of the ruckus, getting a nice panorama shot.
Ruckus.
2 seconds later, there's a scream somewhere very close. Mass hysteria ensues. When the timer hits 19 seconds, a girl in a green hoodie emerges from the right corner of the screen. She is unnoticed by the camera person. The crowd is thinner where she appeared, and she easily navigates among the pedestrians. You can see she is somewhere around her early 20s, has long black hair that covers half her face, and seems less distracted than anybody else, holding her hands in her pocket and hunching as if having back problems. People are now running around her. When she gets closer to the center, a 50-something man in a wool jumper turns in her direction. He says something muffled, and the subtitles below read, "Do you know what's going on?" Before any of the viewers start wondering why this random voice is subtitled, as nothing else is, the girl says something in response, then releases her hand from her pocket and touches the man on the shoulder. The camera notices the sudden movement in the corner and zooms at the scene where the man starts twitching frantically, as if having a seizure. Something happens to his face as it starts getting red and blistering. 3 seconds later, and the phone's owner cries. It's a guy. "Oh my fucking god! Oh fuck! Oh fuck!"
Oh,
the man
fuck!
falls to the ground with an unnaturally swollen chest. The nearby passers-by watch this in fear, only to start screaming and running away. The crowd, now knowing the source of the panic, began spreading. A vast wave of bodies that flood the streets, stopping vehicles. Some people ran past the camera person. The phone catches glimpses of their horrified faces. We can also start noticing other phones recording the commotion. The police arrives, their flickering lights appear somewhere in the corner. The girl is now in focus. She walks towards another person and touches them. It's a teenage boy who makes choking gestures and starts bleeding from his mouth as his chest bloats to giant proportions. 2 other boys, probably his friends, scream and try to run away, but one is snatched by the girl. He stumbles onto the ground, red and choking blood. The other one cries so loud it can be heard above the noise. Someone, a young woman in the general confusion, bumps into the girl. She falls to the ground, not moving. The girl then proceeds to leap toward every person she is able to. She touches them, and each one ends up the same way. After touching about 4 more people, for a brief second, she looks in the direction of the camera, grinning widely. The video is 1 minute 4 seconds long and has over 6 million views. The comments section consists mostly of
She's popular.
WTF and "Is this real?"
WTF's right, she is popular.
But many were not really convinced. Some shouted it was fake. There were few who believed it was one of those pranks used to promote new horror movies, and in very bad taste, they added. Trolls were joking they would bang her either way. This was the most popular video of the happening. Overall, there were over 15 original recordings, all shot from different angles and moments. After the incident, the girl in the green hoodie was nowhere to be found. The event received media coverage all over the world, but the fact that people died after being touched was barely mentioned. Most news reports described it as a biological attack organized by terrorists, and that the girl in the green hoodie was using either some kind of gas or a syringe filled with toxic chemicals. This blatant lie wasn't overlooked by the internet, as millions of commenters shouted that no gas nor syringe were present during the event, and witnesses actually saw that a simple touch would turn a person into a blood-choking red mess. The media, however, refused to accept this explanation and turned a blind eye to the accusation. No real explanation was given to the deaths as well. According to medical authorities, the victims had been dead before any help arrived. For a few days, only a range of symptoms were presented to the public. Skin lesions, obstruction of the lungs, eye inflammation, etc. As the official cause of death was still unknown, however, 2 days after the incident, a post was published on an anonymous message board. The creator claimed to be one of those morgue attendants that were examining the bodies. He or she felt obliged to tell the truth about the conditions of the bodies, but were shut down by their supervisors in order not to spread panic. They explained that the cause of death was asphyxiation caused by severe pulmonary injuries, which explained the bleeding and swollen chests. OP expressed their shock as they have never seen such amount of damage caused in such a short time. They also added that the victims were exposed to aflatoxins. Aflatoxins are cancerous chemicals found in corn, walnuts, peanuts, to name a few, especially when improperly stored, can lead to liver cancer and other horrible things such as hemorrhage. According to OP, the amount of aflatoxin in the bodies was 20 times larger than in normal instances of an aflatoxin poisoning, which caused severe damage to their liver. The list of symptoms goes on: throat injuries, internal bleeding, dermatitis, sore and bloodshot eyes, etc., developed to a very serious stage. The effects are similar to being exposed to black mold for a prolonged period of time, wrote the anonymous user, and never responded to any of the comments, although people were skeptical. The post gained a lot of attention. For a few months, YouTube became flooded with reaction videos and theories. Conspiracy theorists believed the girl in the green hoodie was a governmental experiment gone wrong, a real-life SCP, or even Pestilence, one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. The girl even gained her own cult following, becoming an internet meme. She was dubbed Rosie, in reference to Ring Around the Rosie, as it was a nursery rhyme about the Black Death. Which is true, by the way. But this was not the first time Rosie appeared on the internet. In 2011, a YouTube video appeared with the title written in Japanese, which could be Google translated as Death on the Streets, Japan, Weird Girl Found, depicting an intersection in a suburban area seen from a third-floor balcony. People are running away screaming. The camera is focused on the girl in the green hoodie in the middle of the road, monitoring the surrounding chaos. She keeps her hands in her pockets, and this time her face is hidden under the hood. Around her lie bodies, like a macabre version of petals surrounding a flower bud. You can hear the camera person talking with someone next to them. Their voices are pitched to an almost chipmunk-like squeak, but unless you know Japanese, you can't make out what they're saying. After almost 2 minutes of footage, Rosie leaves the scene before police arrive. At the time, people believed it was fake as there were never any media coverage of the event. No one knew where it had taken place, nor who recorded this. However, after the incident in 2017, I, the person who remembered the Japanese video, decided to create a subreddit about it. I first encountered the green hoodie girl, aka Rosie video, yesterday, and couldn't shake off the feeling of deja vu. I searched my old YouTube playlist and found an old Japanese video from 2011. Link below. I'm certain that this is the same girl, though you can't see her face. The hoodie is the same. I want to know if these are related somehow. Does anybody have information concerning any of the videos? Has anyone ever seen this girl before? The first response appeared 2 days later. When I first saw the video, I was freaked out because I had a very similar experience 2 or 3 years ago. I was sitting on a bench in a park. There were not many people and... there was not many people and walking, jogging, etc. That sentence doesn't make much sense to my brain. I was on my phone, waiting for a friend. But when I raised my head, I noticed a girl in a green hoodie. She bypassed me without any interest, and I only remembered her because she has a big smile on her face, which I thought was cute at the time. After I stopped paying attention, but a few minutes later, I heard a scream. I ran to see what happened, and I found an older guy laying on the ground with a really red face and a swollen chest. I thought he choked on something, so I called 911. It took them some time to get there. Besides, I was scared right out of my mind at the time, so I can't remember if the girl was even there. But seeing all the bodies on the video reminded me of that guy, and the girl that passed me by with a smile on her face. If this is the same girl, I think I'll go mad. She would have touched me if she wanted to. The post gained a lot of replies, but one was more interesting than the others. The user shared a blurry photo of 2 dead horses near a fence, their barrels swollen with patches of red skin in between the fur. They were positioned in a way that you couldn't see their face, but I could imagine their eyes were bloodshot. The user wrote, "I live in a family farm in the outskirts of France where we breed horses. Over 5 years ago, we found 2 of our mares dead, just like this. We thought it was some wild animal as we live close to a forest, but there are no bite or claw wounds. We called a vet, he did an autopsy, and claimed the horses had a severe case of mold poisoning, and we should check our stables as quick as possible. Our stables were well maintained, but we checked every nook and cranny just in case, not even a speck of mold. Besides, there were several other horses in the paddock, healthy and unharmed. For years, I believed the 2 dead ones had to eat something toxic, until I saw the video on YouTube with Rosie, the green-hooded girl. I couldn't believe my eyes because the victims had the same symptoms as our mares back then. Then I found the post of that autopsy technician who described the cause of death: asphyxiation from severe black mold exposure. Fucking mold exposure. I don't know if she killed my horses, but the symptoms were exactly the same. There is a path next to the paddock, right near the fence, where our horses were found. People were horrified after seeing the photo. You can kill a man and no one bats an eye, but animal cruelty is, fortunately, less tolerated on the internet. Many hypotheses appeared before someone posted another video. He wrote an introduction in broken English, but I managed to make out the general sense. Apparently OP used to work at a bar, and some night while on shift, he heard screams and gunshots coming from outside. He was too scared to check as it was a really nasty neighborhood, and about 10 minutes, everything went silent. The next day, he and his boss checked the video surveillance. I watched the footage he uploaded. In the dim glow of the entrance lighting, 2 men ran through the street. One disappeared from the shot, but the other one was quickly snatched by someone whose face was hidden under a hood. The captured man twitched erratically before falling to the ground, motionless. The hooded figure quickly followed the one who escaped. It was dark. The footage had a very low frame rate and really bad quality, but many agreed, me included, that the attacker was rather short for a man, didn't use any weapons, and was wearing something resembling a zip-front sweatshirt of uncertain color. What really bothered me was the mention of gunshots. As it was CCTV footage, no sounds were recorded. But if someone was shooting, Rosie, if it was really Rosie, didn't seem to be affected in any way. Over the span of a few months, my subreddit has grown over 3 times in size. People shared their own experiences and posted photos and videos they found. There were a few who decided to make YouTube documentaries about Rosie based on all the uploaded material. There was a lot to find. We received video recordings from airports, stores, or streets all over the world. The number of photos depicting dead, swollen bodies was remarkable. Some people claimed to spot Rosie, even taking pictures inconspicuously, but in most cases, there was a false alarm or fake. Theories started popping up like mad. Even Rosie's popularity grew. She received a lot of fan art, and very often disturbing in more ways than one. I think she is misunderstood. Maybe that smile is fake and she's really suffering. I want to help her, quote unquote. One of the users wrote and quickly received a reply, "You are a fucking idiot, you know that?" But what really shook me up was a photo that was posted about 5 months after I created my subreddit. The user described it in only 1 sentence. I didn't make it. The photo presented Rosie from behind, without her hood on, her hair hanging from her shoulder as she was leaning against a brick wall. At her feet lay a boy, maybe 8 or 9 years old, probably of Middle Eastern descent. He was curling up as if trying to hide himself, and was looking at Rosie with sheer terror in his eyes, his face red from crying. There was no background story to this. No one could recognize the place nor the boy. People who clearly didn't read the post started accusing the one who posted it for just staying there and taking pictures, and were reminded to read descriptions first. The photo stayed in my mind for a long time, and the boy's face haunts me to this day. I quickly connected the dots and began my own investigation. I started posting videos of me trying to solve the mystery of Rosie. I tried to dig information about her real name, origins, and possible relatives, but to no avail. I contacted police departments in countries Rosie was reported in. Despite evidence I presented, she was never caught or even seen. In a Skype interview with a police officer who witnessed the 2017 incident, he said, "We kept hearing about a girl in a green hoodie, but we never found such a person. No personal information, no address, nothing. We sent police notice all around the country. Whoever she was, she disappeared without a trace. Despite my best efforts, I wasn't able to find anything. It seemed as if Rosie came from nowhere and could appear and disappear wherever and whenever she pleased. Sometimes when I check all the evidence, I start doubting myself. Blurred photos, easily manipulated and staged videos, accounts of people that might be lying or simply gullible. I might be up to something, but maybe it's all a wild goose chase, and I need to stop believing in everything I see on the internet. But I can't stop worrying. All the videos and written accounts of other people described locations that were remote or barely inhabited. The 2017 video was actually the first time Rosie was seen in a more crowded, populated space." And that's the end. Interesting. That one's sort of more of an intriguing. It's creepy, but it leaves a lot of intrigue. Like, that seems like something that could really happen. In a way, I guess. I think I've probably gone over time, so I should probably wrap this up.
Alright, give me 1 second.
Alright, Jess is gonna beat the shit out of this ruffian.
I don't even know about that.
He's gonna do it. Here it comes. Oh. Why do they have no...
Bullshit! Now I'm gonna lose.
Oh, man. You can do it. I believe in you.
She has no health. I have to get to the fucking
You have to knock her?
signature thing. No, I have to get to the signature thing again, and she blocked every fucking one of them.
Oh, gotcha.
I've fucking beaten her so many fucking times.
Oh, well, that sucks. We'll catch you guys in the next video. Please like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. We'd like to keep doing this. I like reading these little stories. It's pretty fun. I hope you guys will catch us for the next episode, whether it's Creepypasta Gaming or if it's our normal stupid bullshit that we do on this channel. Bye.
Bye.
Fuck you, Dad!